Well, let's get them fired up. I got a, I got another gadget here when I present online or I do my podcast. We rock it out there. Another trick of the trade. But Arlen, it's great to be with you again here in ELN and really enjoy it. Let's get started, everybody. I know it's a beautiful day and you got lots to do. Your life is busy. Your cup is full. But let's have a great 45 to 60 minutes together. So I know Arlen was inviting people into the chat. Number one, the first question I want to ask in the chat, your years as either an administrator, if you're not an administrator, or as an educator, but your total years either as a school administrator, and if you're not an administrator, your years as an educator. Jump in. Let's see what our group is made of today. Go ahead, just put the years in the chat. I want to see people's experience. 18. Wow. Surviving and thriving. Fantastic. 14. You got veterans here taking professional development. I love it. Substitute teaching. God bless us. 12 years. Fantastic. Wow. So we got some veterans here. 4 years. Good. Welcome, Denise. All right, my second question in the chat, my second question. 10 is, oh my God, Andrew, I love it. Oh my God, it's the best. 1 is, you're not a fan. But are you a basketball fan? Are you a basketball fan? 10, you are a basketball fan through the roof. 1 is, you can't stand the orange ball. Arlen's an 8, good, okay. 8, we got some basketball fans here. Good, 10 aside, yeah, baby. Good. Okay. So that's good. We're all hoops fans. You got to love it. Awesome. Last question, and then we're going to get started. Your energy level right now. It's in the afternoon. 10 is you are super pumped. 1 is you're falling asleep. You had a bad night last night. Show me your energy level right now. Tanita, we're going to raise that for you. Camille's a 10. Wow. Denise, okay. Well, thanks for your honesty. Wow, it's 10 p.m. and he's a 10. Wow. I'm happy to share, friends. I got my first TED Talk, and it's this weekend. And one of the themes I'm going to talk about is transferring energy. I want to be able to transfer my energy to move those 2s and 3s up to 6s and 7s and 8s. You 6s and 7s, I want to make you a 10. And Camille, you're 10 o'clock. Omari, 10 o'clock. You're still going. So that's great. We will be back to the chat in a little bit, but let's get started here. I gotta find my, I want to share my screen. Where is it, Arlen? I should have had it queued up here.
Should be a big green button at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar.
Yeah, where am I? I got share.
Here it comes.
There it is. All right.
Yep, we see it.
You got it? We're good?
Let me see. It's still loading, still loading. There it is.
There it is. March Madness, Arlen. Here we go. And it's about high performance under pressure. I had a coach one time say to me, Andrew, can I get a technical file for what I'm thinking? I said, no, coach, no, absolutely not. And he said, well, I think you, and shared some words there. And that happens on the court sometimes. And it also happens in education, right? Sometimes people voice poor opinions of us, but I've been an educator here. I've been a school leader in Port Jervis, New York. This is my 21st year in Port Jervis. And as I write there, it was a perfect combination. My officiating as well as my time as an official. I was able to have the 2 work, and they each made me better. When I was on the court, I was a better referee because I knew how to handle things in school. And when I was back in school the next day and I had a parent yelling at me or a parent upset about it, I knew how to handle it because I had that coach yelling at me the night before with 10,000 people booing as well. So they helped each other. It was a perfect combination. And think about it. Think about the 2 roles, right? You're in the spotlight. You have to make decisions in the spotlight. People are vocal about your decisions. And sometimes, with their passion, they want to argue about your decision that you did to enforce the rules. So there was a lot of similarities, but I loved it. I loved the journey of the time refereeing, as well as my time as a school leader, right? A lot of ups and downs on that journey. So, but they did work together. And I just asked about your energy level, and I want to change your life. I know we're on a computer. I know you're in Egypt. I know you're in Illinois, a long way away, but I want to change your life today. When you're done with this webinar, I want you to feel different. I want to bring my energy into you. But with this talk, I hope to change your life by the power of a single experience. And here's one of our takeaways today. When I used to get my referee schedule, there'd be 3 names on it: Joe Blow, Arlen Peebles, and Andrew Marotta. And all 3 of those people would look at those names. And what would they say? When I see Arlen's name on my Zoom list, I'm like, yes, Arlen's great. I'm happy to work with Arlen. But when I see Joe Blow's name, I'm like, oh my God, I got to work with Joe Blow. And what do people say about you when they got to work with you? How can we become the leader that everybody wants to work with? And we're going to talk about some of that today. We're going to tell some stories. We're going to talk about how officiating can kind of tie into our lives and go back and forth in our lives here. And we're going to end up with a powerful story about moms watching. I'll break a couple times in our time together so we can have some Q&A and conversation in the chat. And we'll do that a couple times. Arlen is monitoring the chat as we're getting started. So let's get hydrated and let's get rolling with some stories, some experiences, and things that can impact us a lifetime. So Duke, North Carolina just played here on Saturday, the big end of the year game, one of the best rivalries in the country, really. And this was my first time to the University of North Carolina. I was a little nervous and I wanted to get to all these spaces, right? I wanted to get there. So it was a preseason scrimmage. And if you know anything about sports, during scrimmages, the coaches generally don't really engage with the refs. They barely say hello. And you're almost like, the hired help. You're like a piece of meat. Get out there and do the reffing. And I've done that 100 times. Well, when I went to Carolina, it was a little different. Roy blows the whistle. Coach Williams blows the whistle. We all go to center court. He's got blue and white. And he talks to the kids about what they're going to do today, right? What offense are we going to run? Here's the things I want to focus on. And he says, now, young men, I want to introduce our refs today. Arlen Peebles, Joe Blow, and Andrew Marotta. They are 3 of the top refs in the ACC. When they speak to you, you better listen. They're trying to help you. So they're going to talk to you today during the scrimmage. If they speak to you, you listen to them. Whoa. Jump in the chat right now. What did Coach Williams do with that action right there? What did he do with that action? What with his doing that introduction? What did he do? Go ahead, jump in the chat. Throw your answer in there. Roy introduced us, right? He said they're 3 of the best. I had not even met Coach Williams yet, and he called me by name, right? But he empowered us. He empowered us as officials. He raised our level of respect with the players, and he also knew my name. Think about that. He's a Hall of Fame college coach, and he knew my name. I never even reffed in the ACC yet, but he introduced me as one of the top officials in there, right? Adam, he gave us credit and he set tone for the environment. If he said, hey, you got a rookie ref here, kids, right? They would have thinking I stink or I'm not ready to do the job. I was nervous, but that's not how he treated me. That's right, Denise. He added value to us. He empowered us. And I was pumped up. I was ready to go. So we start the game. I'm all excited. We do the game. And now there's a play with Tyler Zeller. He's 7 foot, gigantic. Bam! There's a collision right in front of the basket. And I know we got some basketball fans here. That circle, that semicircle that's in front of the basket, you can't be standing in there when there's contact. Well, there's a huge collision. Bam! Zeller goes down. I come out with block. And I point that he was standing in the circle. And Roy yells, mark it. Mark it. What's he marking? I go over to my partner. I say, what does that mean, mark it? He said, oh, he's yelling up to the manager to tell him to mark the play because he wants to go back and watch it. Oh, he wants to go back and watch it. Oh my God, no way. This is going to be terrible. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get fired. I didn't even get started in the ACC. Well, we finished the game. I'm thinking about that play, and we finished the game. We go in the locker room. About 5 minutes in, there's a knock at the door. It's the manager. He's got 3 light blue T-shirts. He's got 3 waters. He said, this is from Coach Williams. He just wanted to say thank you. Here's a couple of drinks. And Andrew, he did want to tell you, you got the play right. Me? Who are you talking to? Me? I got the play right? Coach Williams, Hall of Fame coach, University of North Carolina. Did he have to send that kid in? Did he have to do that? What did Roy do with that action? Go ahead in the chat. What did Roy do with that action, that decision to come into the, send the kid into the locker room? Go ahead, put it in the chat. Yeah, affirmation, Adam, right. He gave me confidence. Maybe he knew I was a rookie. Affirmed that I got the call right. What else? Somebody else. As you're answering here, guys, I took both of those concepts and brought them right back to my school, right? When guests came to my school, I want to make sure I greeted them by their names. I want to make sure I empowered them. If I was introducing them to my students, I would say, this is Arlen Peebles from the Illinois Principals Association, right? Bringing all of that stuff. And absolutely, Assad, he gave me confidence and confirmation that I got the call right. So important in the work we're doing. Next story, Madison Square Garden, right? I'm at Madison Square Garden. I know we have a lot of Illinois here. We got Egypt. Well, Madison Square Garden is the Mecca. It is the home of college basketball. It is a landmark. And I was super excited to be at the Garden, really excited to be there. And even before the game, I get a call, Tim Higgins is legendary referee. And he must have given my name in, but he emailed me and said, Andrew, here's where you get your tickets. So I call the number, and Marie picks up the phone, a real Italian from New York. She says, hey, Andrew, how you doing? I said, hey, Marie, you know, I hear it's your first time. Yeah, that's right, Marie. It is my first time. I love having the rookies here. Have a great game. Thanks, Marie. You know, I was calling for the 2 tickets. Andrew, Tim told me it's your first time. I know you got more than 2 people coming. How many tickets do you want? Just 2, Marie. I don't want to overstep my bounds. I don't want to, you know. Andrew, it's your first time to the Garden. It's a big deal. How many do you want? Just 2, Marie. I really. Andrew, how many tickets you want? 18, Marie. 18 it is, Andrew. And bam, she got me 18 tickets to my first game at the Garden. My whole family came. And again, Tim set that up, right? Tim made that little call. So there's 2 parts to the story. The first part is I'm in the tunnel with Tim, and we're standing there. I could see the lights of the Garden. I am nervous. It's a big deal. I'm nervous. My knees are shaking. And Tim puts his hands on my shoulder and he says, Andrew, you belong here. You're going to do a good job. He said, just one thing, kid. This is the Garden. They're the best players in the world. Give them space to breathe. Give them space to breathe. Don't call any ticky-tack fouls. Okay, Tim. Okay, I could do that. Sure. And we go out on the court and then, wow, holy cow. My legs were like rubber. And we start the game, and we're doing the game. It's Virginia Tech, St. John's. And there's a play, the guy's dribbling the ball down. There's a bump. And it's called displacement. For you basketball fans out there, the rule is called displacement. When you bump the dribbler and you knock him off his path, that's called displacement. It's a foul. Well, that's exactly what happened. He bumped him and he went off his path. And I went like this. I was about to call a foul and something came over me and I just held the whistle for a half a second. And the guy kept dribbling and he laid the ball up. Nothing happened. No coaches yelled. Nobody yelled in the audience. Nothing happened. And then I looked over and me and Tim made eye contact and he did one of these. Tim saw it. He saw that I gave them space to play. I did it. I made the call he was talking about in the garden. I did it. My confidence level goes up. It was a home run. I felt great. Tim acknowledged me on the court. I went on to have a great game. It was phenomenal. And it was just a great experience. A simple little wink and a great experience. So now it's near the end of the game, and we're going to walk into the tunnel, back into the tunnel. And Tim and I are talking the last minute of the game. There was a timeout, and he says, Andrew, what are you doing after the game? I said, well, I'm going for a steak dinner with my family. And he said, oh, me too. And I was like, wow, you've been doing this 25 years. So now the game's ending. We run off the court, and Tim yells, bring in the cooler. And there's a kid, in the hallway. There was a bunch of people in the hallway. The kid, okay. And 5 minutes later, it's a knock at the door. The kid comes in with the cooler. I'm thinking Tim's going to ice his knees. No. Tim opens a cold beer. Andrew, would you like a beer? Yeah, Tim, absolutely. It was a double header. And he says, would you like a beer? Absolutely. And I said, Tim, can I ask you a question? He said, sure, Andrew, ask me anything. I said, you've been doing this 25 years and you're still going for a steak dinner with your family after the game? Like, how are you doing that? Most of the people I know, they don't have that family dynamic. And he said, you want to know? I said, yeah. He said, get a pen. And I put the beer down. I went and got a pen. And he said, Andrew, here's what you do. Every Wednesday and Saturday, you hire a babysitter for your wife. And you lock those dates in. If the babysitter's making $10 an hour, you pay her $13 an hour. If she's making 13, you pay her 17. You make sure that you lock that babysitter in every Wednesday and Saturday. You make sure your wife and your kids know exactly where you are, and more importantly, when you're coming home. And when you come home, you're not off. You're not, I'm going to relax and put my feet up. You have to come alive when you come home. You have to earn your keep at the house, because they don't care that you were just reffing the game at Madison Square Garden. You have to be the dad that they want you to be. And you do that. You give your wife a check every season, not the $250 check, the one with the comma in it, the big check with the comma in it, and you give that to her as a thank you. And when the last game is over, you pick that first weekend and you send your wife away at the end of the season. Those are things that you could do to make sure that you take care of your family during this. It was invaluable. In the chat, you can pick the first part of the story or the second part. What was some learning points there? What was some things that Tim did for me or taught me in that moment? Go ahead, in the chat. Tim Higgins, if you ever watched the Big East, he was the man in that league. What did Tim do with that action? Yeah, made me feel like an equal, right? That acknowledgement, Arlen, a little wink there. And the mentoring part of it, the mentoring as a younger official to sit with me like that after the game. We had a couple beers. We had a 30-minute conversation. It was fantastic. Yeah, absolutely, Adam. There was, separation from work and family. Knowing how to take care of your family was so important to me. So important. How about one more? Make sure that your comments go to everybody, because if it only goes to hosts and panelists, everyone can't see it. Make sure your comment goes to everybody. All right, I'm gonna keep moving here, friends. Next story here. This is Roger Ayers. Roger is still refereeing. Roger is a Final Four ref. Roger is a long time in the ACC referee. There he is there. An incredible referee, an incredible person, and been a great mentor and friend to me. I got to see him in Syracuse, New York last year. So Roger and I are doing a game at the Richmond Coliseum. We're in Richmond, Virginia. And we are doing a playoff game, and VCU is playing. Well, if you know anything about VCU, their home is in Richmond. And I think they were playing Drexel out of Philadelphia. So it was a 95% home crowd, even though it was supposed to be a neutral site. It was not. It was a ruckus environment, to say the least. So this was the first year they had replay. And there was a play at the end of the game. If the ball, you couldn't tell who the ball went off, you could go to the monitor. And there was a play at the end of the game, and I see it, and it was like, and I give the ball to Drexel. Well, the place, boo! They're booing so heavy, it like shook. It was like so loud and forceful. And I do this. And that's to go review the play. And I'm walking over there. I'm like, oh man, I hope this is clear, right? I look at the replay. I'm way in the screen like this, like when you see the refs huddled over, and it looks like this. You can't tell whose finger is who. It's so close. I'm like, and you can't make any facial expressions, right? You can't go, what? You can't, because the camera's on you. So I'm like this. I'm like, I have no idea. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. And Roger comes over, and Roger's going to look at it now. So I'm like, all right, we're fine. Roger's here. Roger's going to take care of it. No problem. And Roger looks, and he turns around. He says, it's your call, kid. What? You asking me? You're Roger Ayers. What are you asking me for? It's your call, kid. I said, Roger, I got to go into Drexel. He said, well, then call it. And I point for Drexel's ball. Again, double as loud. They're going crazy. Double as loud. I'm like, oh my God. VCU loses the game. They're throwing things. They're cursing. The coach was yelling. It was awful. Screaming at us. Now we get in the locker room. I'm like, oh my God. It was such a traumatic experience. We're getting undressed. We're talking about the game. I'm nervous. Like, oh my God, did I get the call right? Knock at the door. It's the commissioner. Oh my God, the commissioner. Now I'm definitely getting fired. The commissioner of the league comes in. Guys, fantastic job. Andrew, just want to say you nailed that call. Great job. And I look over. I make eye contact with Roger in the chat. What does he do? What does he do, everybody? What did Roger do in that moment? The commissioner says, great job. I look at Roger. What did Roger do? Take a guess in the chat. Go ahead. I don't see him in the chat. I'm gonna have to answer it. He winked at me. He winked at me. Yeah, I told you so. Yeah. He winked at me just like he knew it was right the whole time. Would he have let me make a mistake? I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah, he complimented, right? He knew I was on it. He empowered me. I'm sure he knew it was right. He wasn't going to let me fail in that moment. But in the moment, I don't know any of that, right? So in terms of mentoring, here's the question now in the chat. In terms of mentoring, what did these guys do for me as a mentor, as a veteran official? We have a lot of veteran educators on this chat. What did Roger do for me, and what did Tim do for me as a mentor? Go ahead in the chat. Answer that question. Yeah, Adam, he set me up for success. Allowed me to make the call. Again, raising my Like confidence level. Yeah, confidence, Denise. That's absolutely right. Gave me autonomy, right, Arlen? It's your call, kid. Arlen and I were talking about autonomy before the session here. Instilled confidence. Yeah, it's hard. Education is hard, friends. And we got to work through these things. We got to empower our colleagues, empower those young kids, empower the parents to help them with their kids, right? Empower. They put the faith in me. Absolutely. Good answers, guys. All right. These are a couple general concepts from the floor, right? I told some specific stories here. Well, now after referencing for 20 years, what are some general kind of concepts from the floor? And the number one is presence. If you want to do any takeaways from the session today, write these 6 things down. Presence. My mentor told me, Andrew, when you walk out on the floor, your presence is half the battle, right? It's half the battle. What you look like, your shoes shined, is your uniform pressed? I got a tie on here at 4:30 in the afternoon. It would be much more comfortable to take the tie off, but I want to have a certain presence with you here. So asking this question here in the chat, what are some ways you can have great presence, whether it's on the basketball court, in your classroom, or in your school? What are some great ways that you can have presence? Go ahead in the chat, answer that one. What are some great ways that you can have presence? Yeah, being visible, Arlen, right? Being visible in the classrooms for sure. What are some great ways you can have presence? Being visible, looking professional. But yeah, absolutely, Adam. Wearing fun stuff. It was Dr. Seuss week last week. All the teachers had crazy hats. Being on time. Smiling. Abney, sorry, Abney. Last name Hester there. Acknowledge students, right? Showing high five, fist bump. Proximity, good answer. Being close. Being present. Without even doing anything, when the refs walk out on the floor, the way you stand, your clothes, what you look like. I shaved today for you, right? I want to look the part. So important with your present. Yeah, your head up. Denise, a colleague of mine, got fired because he yawned before the game. Got fired, got a call afterwards. Took them off the rest of the schedule because he said you showed everybody in the arena you were tired. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, head up, Denise. Absolutely. Good answers, guys. Number 2, know your stuff. Know the rules. I used to read that rule book all the time. Driving to the game, I would listen to the rules. In my first year as principal here in New York, I got 8 grievances filed against me. 8. Wow, that's a lot. Know the rules and enforce them as they are written. If you're in your school and you could answer something by rule or by the contract, it's this. Now, you don't have to be a machine about it. You got to have a little salt and pepper in there too. But in those moments, quick, you got to know the rules. So know your stuff. And number 3, communication, right? So important. Verbal, body language, all of those kinds of things. I heard an incredible stat. Listen to these numbers. Incredible. 7%, 38%, and 55%. 7%, Arlen, if you could put those numbers in the chat for me. 7%, 38%, and 55%. Out of all communication, only 7% is verbal, your words. 38% is the tone. How are you saying it? I'm trying to have energy with you in this thing today, in this session today, right? What's the tone? You could tell your dog they are the ugliest little dog ever. You smell like poop and you're the ugliest dog I've ever seen. But if you say it like that and you pet them and you smile, they're going to say thinking you're loving on them. And the last one, 55%, is your body language. So show up at your school like you want to be there, right? 7%, 38%, 55%, the percentages of communication, verbal, tone, and body language. Who would have thought? 55% body language, incredible. Have a next play mentality. Have a next play mentality. When I was at Duke, Coach K used to yell at the refs a lot, but he would also yell next play. When something went wrong, if something happened, he'd yell next play, and they would move on. When you make a mistake at school, you make a mistake in your personal life, yell next play and move on. Keep it moving. You have to have incredible self-confidence. Incredible. If you don't believe in yourself, why would somebody else believe in you? You have to have incredible self-confidence. And lastly, we work with people in schools, right? It's not an independent business. You're not an entrepreneur out on your own. We work with people. Trust your team. Trust your teachers. Trust the people you work with. As a referee, it was imperative that if Arlen had a call, you had to trust that he had the right call, right? That we have very competent people in the session. A couple other learning points of the general picture of officiating. People used to say to me, Andrew, how do you hold your concentration for 2 hours? And I said, I don't have to hold my concentration for 2 hours. I only have to hold it for 4 minutes. What? Andrew, what are you talking about? There is a built-in timeout every 4 minutes in the college basketball game. So when there's a whistle under 16 minutes, the teams are going to go to timeout. When there's a whistle under 12, the teams are going to go to timeout. So I'm only trying to get to 16 minutes. And what do I do at 16 minutes? I get a drink. I take a deep breath and I give myself a reset. Chunk the work. Oh, Andrew, I got 5 more years. Don't say things like that. Work today. Work today. Work this week. Oh, Andrew, it's 3 more months till summer break. No. You ain't got to work all the way to summer break. You have to work this week. You have to work this day. You have to work until lunchtime. You have to work until it's time to go home. Break those things up. Don't have this big, massive school year in front of you. Guys, I had a lot of great experiences over my 20 years officiating. Officiated in some amazing places, amazing people. I had a tremendous amount of great experiences. And this was one of them. And it was just a simple piece of paper. I had my first playoff game. I never made it to the NCAA tournaments, but I did make it to the NIT. That's the second one, right? I made the kind of second tournament. And I was at Dayton. And I was thrilled to have a playoff game. I was super excited. It was on ESPN. And there wasn't very many guys working that week in March. It's kind of like 2 weeks from now. And I felt very blessed. And I'm in the hotel room. It's about 3 o'clock, and the phone rings in the room. Not my cell phone, but the phone in the room. That's odd, right? Yes? Yes, this is Andrew. You want me to come down to the front desk? I got a fax. What? Yeah, I got a fax. I go down to the front desk. I'm thinking I'm coming off the game. I thought there was a problem with the NCAA. I thought something happened. I didn't know what was going on. And I got a fax. And it was, again, a simple piece of paper. And it was my best childhood friend. And there was a handwritten note on there. And it said, Dear Andrew, I'm so proud of you. Congratulations for making the NIT. I know how hard you've worked to get there. I'll be watching the game tonight. You're going to do a great job. Enjoy the moment. Your best friend, Francis. It was fantastic. I like welled up tears that he found me at the hotel, and he did that. He's a cardiologist. He's putting in pacemakers and saving people's lives. But he took that time to write that note, and it was one of the biggest things to me. But it was such a simple act that he took the time to do that, and it meant so much to me. And I share that story because these are the things that we have to do for others. We have to make these connections for others. Another major point, my supervisor told me this, and I believe it to be true on the basketball court, but I also believe it to be true in your school district. Never be afraid to let them see you shine. How many times do you know somebody who turned down an opportunity to do a professional development or to do something, or hey, this, you know, hey, would you like to introduce the kids who got the National Honor Society Award? No, I'm good. I'll just sit in the bleachers, right? Never miss an opportunity to let them see you shine. We got people from the Board of Education here. We got people from different leadership groups. I want to shine, not to show off, but to help others grow, to let them know, say, wow, ELN's got great webinars. Andrew Marotta did a great job. Never miss an opportunity to let them see you shine. Here's one for all you school leaders, whether you're a parent, or you're a principal, assistant principal, superintendent. Take a look at that quote there. And before I say any more, we'll take it to the chat. What does that mean? Give a warning. What am I talking about? What's the value in that? Take it to the chat there. Why should we give people warnings? Why should we give people warnings? Yeah. Omiyama. I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah, feedback. You're giving them feedback. Why else should we give warnings? Yeah, it lets them know we're paying attention. Gives them a chance to improve. Maybe they don't know what they don't know. Great answer, Adam. Right? We live, you know, it depends on your district. That's not how it is here in Port Jervis. Right? But some leaders, they just call the person in with a union rep. They give them this counseling memo. It's like a cold, icy exchange, right? You know, maybe you cursed in front of a kid, maybe you used foul language, you know, and bam, you give them this counseling memo. Wow, I've been working here 20 years. I've never been in trouble. And all of a sudden you're giving me this memo? Like, what? Speak to me like a human being. Yeah, gave a warning today about my tone of voice. Use myself as an example. Wow. Way to go, Benny. Way to go. Guys, when, you know, referees, right? We got technical foul. Well, I would blow the whistle and go, coach, that's your warning. I mean, I would say, coach, stop. Coach, I need you to stop. But then I'd blow the whistle. That's a warning on the coach. That's not in the rule book. They had to give a technical foul. Well, I started giving warnings and they worked. The coach thanked me. I started doing it at school. Sometimes I wrote the memo and had them come in and I would read it to them, and then I'd rip it up and I'll say, Orland, don't do that again. You're a great teacher and a great person. Don't do that again. I'm ripping that up. That's your warning, right? Yeah, you're helping them grow, Omiyama. You're helping them grow. It's important to give people a warning. I did that towards the coaches, and if they didn't stop after that, bang, gave a technical foul. I warned them. Right? I gave a technical foul. So I think that's so important. All right. I've been talking for 40 minutes straight here. We've done some interacting in the chat. How about some time for Q&A? For you basketball fans, you could ask some basketball questions. I'll give you the two questions I get the most. Number one is, Andrew, how did you do that in school? How'd you get back to school? How'd you do that? You're an administrator, right? I was allowed to take vacation day. My school district didn't always love it, but I would take vacation. If the game was 3 to 4 or 5 hours away, I'd take a half a day and I would drive myself. I would drive 2 hours after the game, 2.5, sleep at a hotel till 4:30 in the morning, and then drive the rest. I'd get to work by 7 every day. Never was late for work. If the game was longer than that, but I didn't want to fly, I'd hire a driver and we'd leave at 8, 7, 8 in the morning. We'd drive 8 hours. I'd get there, I'd do the game, I'd get back in the thing afterwards. I'd change into my pajamas, I'd lay down in the minivan, and we'd drive 8 hours back, and I'd be at work the next day at 6 o'clock. I'd jump in the shower at work, and I was at my desk by 6:45. If I had to fly, it was a day and a half of work. I missed a day and a half of work. So I hired a driver. That's how I did it. Number two, Andrew, why did you stop? I did not get a contract in the ACC again. I was in the Atlantic Coast Conference for 7 years. A new supervisor came in, a guy with a different lens, and I wasn't in his sights. And my games went from 12 games to 6 games to 2 games to 0 games. And I was out. And I had been doing it for quite a long time. And I don't know, it just wasn't the same after that. To be at that level and then to have been let go in that manner, I don't know, it just changed for me. But then I wrote the books and everything changed for me too. So those are the two most questions I get the most. But how about you guys? What's another question you might have about either reffing or basketball, or something about school and reffing? Adam, I get that question a lot. What's the best game? And I refereed a lot of great games, Adam. I had the first ever Ivy League playoff in the Palestra. That was really cool. I had the game where Coach K tied the all-time record at Duke. I had a bunch of those games. But the answer to that question, Adam, is the game that night. It's the game that night. I work hard at being where my feet are. People say, "Oh, Andrew, what's the best conference you went to? Or what's the best online session?" It's this one right here. Be where your feet are. So I worked hard at that. So the answer is the one I was doing that night. Because if it was a junior college game and the next night I had, Florida State, that junior college game was the best one, because that game was just as important to those kids as it was to the Florida State kids the next night. So Benny, not a huge sports fan, but I know rules are important. I enjoy all the rules. How close to the rules of sports in life? A good question, Benny. Benny, with replay and the digital cameras, if you're a half a step on the line, you have to call it. You have to call the rules as they're written. You have to be as exact as possible. If it's an 8th grade middle school game, do they let some of that stuff go? Sure. But at that level, I couldn't bend the rules. You go 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, it's not a big deal. Division I on TV with the replay and the slow motion, and his foot was on the line this much. There was 1/10 of a second left on the clock. You got to be exact. I don't live life like that. If you're a minute or two late, not a big deal, right? You're a minute or two late in the game. There's 0 seconds on the clock and the ball is still touching his finger by a hair. Game over, right? So they are not like that. The rules in life. Your credit card bill is a day late. They might let it go. They might do that. You inbound the ball a half a second late. Nope. So that's a great question, Benny. But the way that replay and digital cameras and clocks, right? I want to be exact in what I'm doing. Best mentoring experience, Omiyama. I shared a couple stories, but here's one. I call it shoulder to shoulder. Normally, when guys are referees, they're friends, they would kind of chit chat a little bit before the game. They'd be talking. So if two veteran guys knew each other and they were friends, and I was the younger official, I'd be off watching that side of the court before the game. So I was at a place in the ACC for the first time. I was nervous. I didn't know the other two guys, but they were friends. So I anticipated them talking to each other. I anticipated them being friends with each other. And the guy walked out with me. And he stood next to me, and his shoulder was so close to mine. He stood right next to me for about 15 minutes. And he stood like his shoulder was almost touching mine. And I was like, wow, this is great. And I eventually we're about to go do the game. And he turns to me, he says, Andrew, you're a great official. You're going to do a great job tonight. Now you lead us in the huddle. And I was the first referee going to shake hands with the coach, making me look like the head ref, right? Empowering me. So that was a great experience. Fast forward, 10 years later, I did his son's first game. where his son was nervous. And what did I do? I went and stood next to him, shoulder to shoulder. And then I told the kid after the game what his dad did for me. So those are some a great mentoring thing there. Adam, best venue. I love the Palestra in Philadelphia. Cameron Indoor at Duke is incredible. Carolina's an incredible venue. Madison Square Garden, again, an incredible venue. VCU in Virginia, incredible atmosphere, just so incredible. Dayton was an awesome place. Small towns where there's not a professional team, where there's not an NFL team, small towns, Wichita, Kansas, right? The Shockers of Wichita, incredible. That was an incredible venue. They're the only show in town in Wichita, and they packed that place out. Last one, and then we'll continue here. Benny, how do you stay calm when being insulted and yelled at? You listen, Benny. You're not a doormat. You don't get people being disrespectful to you. If they're insulting you, coach, we're not going to go there. If you want to talk to me, I'll listen to you. But you're not going to let them insult you, right? But you are going to listen. They could yell. Coach, I'm standing right here. You don't have to scream. I'm not screaming at you. I'm right here. You want to bring them down. You want to bring them down. Coach, I'm right here. You don't have to yell. Go ahead. I know you're not happy with the call. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to run down the other end. I'll be back in a minute. And next time I come back down, I'll listen to you, right? Now I'm giving them a little space and time. Now I come back in 30 seconds. All right, coach, go ahead. Andrew, I'm not even mad about that anymore. The play moved on. Space, right? I don't go at him. I turn this way, right? Now we're standing side to side, things like that. But you don't let them insult you, Benny. You listen, right? In the end, hey, coach, we got to move on. We got a whole second half to play. We're going to move on from that play. We're going to agree to disagree. You saw it this way. I saw it this way. I'll take a look at the tape after the game, right? Things like that. So good questions here in the chat for sure. Yeah. Thanks, Benny. All right. We're going to come down the stretch here. I call this the last whistle, right? Last pieces of advice here that I got. Take care of your people, right? I shared a few first times. Know the rules. I shared that. It's important you know the rules. Do the little things well. You do a bunch of little things well over the course of your school year, you're going to have a great year. You don't wait till graduation to get it right, all right? You do the little things well. Communication, you just asked about how do you handle people yelling at you. It's a work in progress. I'm married 20 years. I'm still trying to figure out my wife and how she ticks, right? Keep rolling, keep showing up, and this is great advice. Arlen, I won't curse on the session, but don't F it up. I had a lot of referees tell me that. Great advice. Don't F it up, right? This is JD Collins. He's an official there. He was the national coordinator. This is what he described being an official. And think about our role as educators. Think about that. That's what we're doing in schools today, right? That's what we're doing in schools. Incredible advice there. Take a picture of that. That's your job description of an educator in today's world, for sure. All right, last story, and then we'll get you out of here. And it's a story about my mom. My mom's 83 years old. And when my dad passed away, my dad used to come to a lot of games. And when my dad passed away, my mom said, Andrew, I'll come to your games. And I said, Mom, I'd love that. And my mom came to a bunch of games with me. There we are in DC. There we are in Charleston, South Carolina. And it was awesome. And whether my mom was there in person or my mom was watching the game on TV, it made me feel really special. And I wanted to do a great job that my mom was watching. So when the games were on TV, she always wanted to know, Andrew, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And the game assignments were confidential. I couldn't just say, oh, here, Mom, here, I couldn't do that. But once I told her, Then she would call Aunt Marion. She'd call my brother Paul. She'd call all these people and tell them where the games are. Here's a chance to meet my mom. Arlen, give me a thumbs up in the chat and make sure that they can hear this. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Leadership Sparks. My name is Andrew Marotta, host of Leadership Sparks, and I got Grammy with me. It's her 78th birthday. My mother, Dory's my biggest fan. Welcome to Leadership Sparks.
Thank you for having me, Andrew.
Grammy, on your 78th birthday, what would you say on Leadership Sparks for people, some life advice here from a wise young lady?
Well, live wisely, love much, be happy, help others, and try to be happy most of the time. Happy is good.
That's pretty good advice from a lady you lived a lifetime together, right? I offer you the same advice to you as an educator. Be wise, love, and try to be happy along the way. Take care of others along the way. Welcome. When my mom would come to visit in Port Jervis, she would come to my school. I'd bring her for the day. The best compliment that I got is when students and my staff would say, Mrs. Marotta, your son is a great school leader. Mrs. Marotta, I love your son. They would say that to my mom, and it would mean so much to me, right? And, back to those games, right? Here's a bunch of the games she came to. She kept the tickets. But whether, again, she was watching on TV or she was there in person, it meant so much to me. So as we end here on this session, March Madness, as we end, do your job and act as if your mom is watching you. My mom got to watch me officiate, and I ran a little faster. I stood a little taller. I was a little straighter. And whether your mom is alive or she has passed, God bless, act as if your mom is watching you at your job. Because I got that as an official, and it made me feel really special. And I wanted to do a great job, period. But when my mom was watching, I even wanted to do a better job. Guys, gals, I write a leadership blog. You can sign up on my website, andrewmarotta.com. But here's a QR code. You can sign up to get the blog. It comes out every Monday. And actually, this Thursday, too, I added another one. It'll be the Give a Warning blog, and it's that story. But I'd love for you to sign up. I love that people read the blogs, and if you like this, you could sign up there. I've written a bunch of books. I do district workshops. I do district openings for the members of the Board of Education here in the Department of Education. I'd love to come and present with your group. Again, travel around the country doing workshops and keynotes. And again, we wrote Tales from the Hardwood, speaking to a lot of coaching groups and officiating groups here. But for today, I'd be happy to send you some books. I got a couple here. But those are my books, and you would have to say which ones you want. You could look on my website, andrewmarotta.com, but I'll discount them for you and certainly give you free shipping. And there's just some of the prices. So you would just Venmo me or PayPal, and then just write, which one you want, and I got to make sure I get your address. But I'd love for you to have a copy of my book, and I'd love to get that to you in your school district. So again, one more time, I'll put that Venmo and PayPal there. And that's about our time. I got 3:56 is the time out in Illinois there. There's my email. There's my Twitter. And Arlen, another great session. It's been an honor to be with you and your team, as well as all of our people. And if there's any last items in the chat, we can chit chat for a little bit there. So Arlen, I'll turn it back over to you.
Wonderful, Andrew. Thank you so much for this presentation, your stories, your energy. This has been an inspirational and just fantastic hour with you. Thanks for all of our participants for working with us through the chat as well. We realize it's a little different when you don't have your webcam and mic available, so we do appreciate you participating with Andrew through the chat. This session was recorded, and I'll be sending out a recording link tomorrow, as well as a link to an evaluation. Give us your feedback. Let us know what you thought of the session through that online evaluation. And if you're from Illinois, you can get your PD credit hours as well. You'll get the official ISB evidence of completion form for staying with us this full hour. And I don't see any more questions, just a lot of thank yous, Andrew.
Yeah. I thank them for tuning in. Guys, it's a journey. Every game I refed wasn't great. Every day at school wasn't great, but I did the best I could. Keep showing up for your school district and your community. And as I said earlier, if you screw a play up, get the next one right. Have that next play mentality. So
Excellent. Thank you so much, Andrew. I'm going to stop the recording now.